Hello everyone, I'm back for another interesting video. But before I say exactly what I'm going to work on, our perfect sunny weather, although cold, has suddenly changed into snow. So, what I have before you today is behind that. So we've had like some amazing weather. I was able to do stuff at the fortress, but now I really can't make it up there, so I am going to work on another project. This is the cement mixer that I purchased from Sparks from his last big huge purchase of all those items. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but he just bought tons of stuff. And it was up on sale at KSL and nobody worked on it or anything, so we do not know the condition of it. All I know is I really quickly earlier opened it up, turned it to make sure it wasn't seized, the chains off of it. There's some minor modifications welded on it I want to remove, but I want to work on it. But I am not going to work on it out here in this snow. So I am going to start moving this out of the way and then bring the forklift. Alrighty then. There's a forklift and I got a chain on the end of it. Get the chain off. And open the door. Initially, I picked this thing up because I wanted it for parts for one that I do have on the mountain at the top, but it's actually mounted onto a truck that's not working. So I figured, got an okay deal on this. Depends on how much is working, but even if none of it works, it means I have parts. And coming up this next year, I plan to have a little bit of help on some of the projects, so I need a cement mixer. It'll be much faster than me doing the bags in the wheelbarrow, but some of the places will be at different locations that'll be easier to get to, like maybe the depot or some of the midway points. And if I have help, I can pour a lot more concrete with this machine. So I just got the snow off. I'm gonna put it inside and let's see if we can get this thing to run. All right, we're gonna take a first look here. Right off the bat, the pull string attachment on here is missing, but I think I can probably still hook a rope around it and get it to turn to test it out. Definitely seen some use. A lot of gunk on there. The chain is dangling down at the bottom. So you got the chain even though it's off the main gear. But everything looks complete here. There's some strange piece welded up here. I don't like that. That severely limits the movement of that. I'm not sure exactly why they put that there. It was definitely cut off of, I guess they came from a trailer. And its back is a little bent, so the whole alignment's a little tweaked. So I'd really like to make a skid plate for this with areas so that you can take a forklift and slide on it from the side or from the end. So it looks like I'll probably have a little bit of framework, but I'm not going to do any of that framework unless I know this is running. If this runs, then I'll probably get this thing all put together. If not, then I'll just keep it for parts for the other one, get that other truck running, and use that mixer on it. So, well, the first thing I think I'm going to have to do is find me a rope that I can make me a pull start. Either that, or I might find me a socket and use a drill to turn that. Either way. So let's get that stuff and try this out. Taking in, looked at the fuel there. Decided I'm gonna have to wait. I'm gonna have to run down and grab some rope. But I noticed that when I flicked this lever for the fuel, it started dripping fuel out of it. So I've got some sort of leak there I got to take care of, which means I probably have to take this cover off. So let's just start delving into it and see what we got. The air cleaner is really clean. So I guess, very interesting. I guess I have to take all this apart in order to get this plastic cover off so I can see what's going on back here. So I'm gonna get this off and start pulling some of this out, see what I got, and to stop that leak. Well, right off the top I can see a couple problems. One, after realizing I'm gonna have to take this cover off because this leaks, choke is frozen, so it looks like carburetor's gummed up. So yeah, it was a little bit hard pulling this off because the choke was full in the disengage and this is bound up in it. So I guess the next thing is to take the carburetor off and clean it up and see what we got. I've even noticed more things. A lot of things are like frozen on this. Like the adjustments for the speed is like really hard to work on. But got the carburetor off. It's a little gummed up, so I'm gonna have to clean this up and I'll work out why this is so hard, which is the throttle. I'll find out why that's so hard to move. But draining out some of the old fuel that was in there. So just is basically tearing into it and just seeing what we got. One of the problems I had was leaking of fuel from the fuel switch on and off. And looking at this, we have this gasket with 4 holes. 2 of the holes aren't used and other 2 are. Now looking at it, I can see that there's some wear on those holes that are used. So I'm thinking I can use this gasket, and I think, looking at it, it's the same on either side. If I flip it so that the 2 unused holes that were normally on those 2 pieces sticking up right there, use those for the main ones, I can double the lifetime of this. So basically I'm using a part of this that isn't used. I mean, if somebody designed it that way, that's a pretty cool idea. So I'm going to flip it over and use the holes that have a better seal on it for where the fuel is, and then hopefully that will solve the issue with the leaking fuel. If it doesn't, then I'll have to order that little rubber piece. Alright, I got the fuel shut off, put back together. Hopefully it won't leak anymore. Then I took off the float bowl, which was really easy. And initial looks is it doesn't look bad. It looks really clean actually. Got a little bit material down at the bottom. I will make sure that the little valve there for the float is working. I'll pull this apart and clean it to make sure that the level for the float was fine. Clean this thing up, blow some carb cleaner through some of the various orifices throughout the carburetor, And I think that we'll call it good because it doesn't look really in that bad a shape. Everything seems to be working now. Got the you know, the choke working now. Broke it free and cleaned it. So just gonna do the finish clean of the float bowl and the needle valve that handles for the fuel level, and put it back together and put it back on. Okay, I've think I got that taken care of. I've got all the other pieces here working. Got the throttle control here working. It's a little stiff. I'm just wondering if it might actually be that way. So this is like really hard. So I'm going to unbolt that and see if I can break that free. Once I do that, then there's two more things I'll do. One, I'll check the spark plug, and I'll get some new fuel and just flush out the tank. It's just sort of nice to flush the tank out. I mean, I've got my little bucket right here, and that'll just solve any issues with stuff getting back down into the little control mechanism right here. So, well, things are looking good. I mean, just straightforward, going through every little piece. I mean, I figured it'd be a lot easier to do it this way than to try to start it and then nothing happened, and then I'm just slowly trying to fight it. So just you know, just methodically just going through this one thing at a time, and then I think we'll be able to try to start it, and hopefully I can get this thing to run. And that might make some other people around here sort of like, because anyway, all right, let's do this. Pull the spark plug out. Notice there's a lot of carbon right there. So that's one of two things. One, it's been running way too rich, or there's a little bit of oil getting past the rings. But it doesn't look that wet. It looks like it's probably just carbon buildup, because the issue with maybe something with the carburetor. So I'm going to clean this spark plug up, and then I will head down and grab some fuel. After cleaning the spark plug, I decided, well, since I can turn the crank, I'll just see about if I'm getting any sort of compression out of the cylinder. So basically, I like turn this. I stick my finger right down about where the spark plug is, and then I can just feel if there's compression or not. I do not have a compression tester with me, but it also wouldn't work very good since it's cold and been sitting for a while, so it's probably at low compression to begin with. But I've been rotating it, and I can feel the various cycles. The intake cycle where it's sucking air into the cylinder, and also when after it fires and it's at getting cleaning out the cylinder, that the exhaust cycle hits, and I can feel it with my finger. So at least I know that the piston's moving up and down, and I know at least the valves seem to be working, because not every rotation do I get the pressure up there, only during the correct cycle. So but that's a good sign. Well, I will put the spark plug back in, and then I will check the oil. That is one thing I did not mention on my thing, is I always check the oil. So I'm gonna do that now. Well, we got some bad news. Put everything together, everything seems to be functioning correctly. When I started to fill up with oil, notice some oil coming out. We have a crack right here and going to the back. So that is why we've got a bunch of oil and gunk on the outside of the engine here. So that means I'm not starting this thing up, and it would be like, uh-oh, engine's down. Nothing we can do. However, I think I'm going to try to fix it. I think I can weld that. However, it's getting late tonight. I will do that on the next video. So I'm just going to clean up, think about everything what I have, and then plan if nothing else is really damaged in the back, if it's only a crack, then I will try to fix it and get this engine running. All right, well, let me clean up and we'll get back. Well, I'm back, another day, and today I am going to fix that crack. So I've got to just undo 4 bolts on the engine there, take this one wire off right there, and then I will get this on the table and we can get a closer look on the damage to this engine. Well, I found out one issue. I noticed that the plate here, which holds the motor, has been bent, and then they solidly bolted an aluminum engine onto a steel piece that is all bent. There's enough force there that would cause a crack to almost anything. One thing would be is to flatten that out and then probably put some sort of a bushing in between to relieve the stress on the engine, the aluminum engine block. So that's probably something there is the reason that it cracked the block, because there's a lot of force to try to force that the base down onto a bent piece of steel. I don't know who did that. I mean, it's pretty obvious from the way I'm looking at it that that's going to just destroy the engine if you try to bolt that up that way. So I will work on bending that later, but I got the engine on the table and we can get a closer look at it. Well, we got a closer look. We've got a crack that goes up to about right here because the base was not uniform and comes up and right and disappears right there. So what it looks like I'm going to have to do, I'm not going to like do it a crappy way. I could just try to weld it the way it is and not open anything up, but I think I am going to take off the gearbox and this cover plate right here, and then that'll allow me to weld all the way over the flange on this. That's going to take a little bit of work. I'm going to have to get this sprocket off and then get this gearbox assembly off. I don't know if I can perhaps maybe just unbolt this and remove the whole assembly without removing this, but I might try that. I might try to see if I can just loosen these up and see what happens if it comes free. Otherwise I'm going to have to take this off and then that off. But I'm assuming, you know, there's got to be a crank somewhere here. If it's splined, I can just unbolt this and pull it off, but I'm not quite sure. Time to dig into it. Well, the first thing I'm going to get off is the sprocket. I'm going to have to move it anyway. Cleaned up the shaft a little bit. Got me a gear puller. On there pretty hard. gut sprocket off, which is nice. I can clean the shaft up, so when I have to align it to the rest of the mixer, it'll be much easier. All right, as soon as I clean up the shaft and everything, then we'll start undoing these next set of bolts. Now I have decided to try to take the main cover off rather than to take the gearbox piece apart. I'm not sure if I'm going to have to or not. I'm just going to be careful. I only have a few bolts to take off. Got most of these loosened already. Well, it'll be interesting. It'd be nice if I can just do this and not have to disassemble the gearbox. I don't need to take this one. I'm actually hoping there's some alignment pins on this, and that everything like the main crank hopefully will just come free easy. I'm not necessarily certain that's going to be the case. And now that I'm looking, it almost looks to me like there might be some more bolts holding this. Like one bolt right here inside this case. Because I'm getting nothing. It really looks like there is another bolt right here inside. So it looks like they didn't make it easy. So I'm going to try taking this other stuff apart and we'll see where we get from there. Well, I've opened it up and I was absolutely correct. There is one other bolt here. Without that, I cannot take this apart. So I've got some other interesting things in here that have to come out. I guess this little assembly here comes out, goes right here. So put that right there. And we're going to probably have to take this internal bolt out. If they would have made this some sort of splined or whatever, we could have probably taken just the cover off, but well, they weren't going to let me do that today. That would have been too easy. There. So then we have this, and this is from our crank, which I will probably need my impact to get that off. Well, now that I got that off, I got the other bolt. This case should come off, which it is. Got some dirt, which I thought I was hoping to get all out before. There we go. Some water must have got in when I pressure washed. It's actually sort of nice because it all froze into giant ice cube, and now we can look at the crack, and it doesn't look all that bad. I've got this gasket. I'm going to carefully take this gasket off. I'm going to try to reuse this gasket. Just need to get it enough that I can get back in here. You can get a closer look Now what happens when you try to bolt down a flat aluminum block onto a bad warped steel base? So let's look. Now you can look at the crack, and you can see that the force is pulled because that metal plate needed to pull this down, pulled it free. So I'm gonna probably have to compress this a little bit, put a clamp on it, and then we will start cleaning this up and get ready to weld this. It's not very thick. Time to get that clean. Now when I was cleaning this out, this gear sort of popped out. I sort of pushed it back in where I thought it was, but this is set up and actually needs to be tined. I noticed that there was a mark on this gear and a mark here, and they were really close, but I was just off a little bit. I could be wrong, but I decided to line up those two marks right there because I'm sure that this thing right here has probably something to do with the firing of the electrical. And this is for the cam. That was starting to come out when I did that, and when I set it back in, it still lines up with the mark on that shaft there. So seems like all my marks are still lined up. I just gotta be careful as I'm doing this not to get these out, because this one right here, even though I'm lined up, this could be like 180 degrees out depending on which way, and I don't have the book here to say which way to set it up. I mean, I could guess it later by taking the head off, but I don't feel like doing that. Hopefully I've got this one back where it should be. I'm just trying to clean it all out, get all the gunk out, so I can clean the crack out and then do some welding. It's going to be a little bit of a new day for me, because I am going to use the TIG, and I have it all set up for aluminum. I'm gonna have to clean it up here, but I have not used the TIG in a long time, so I'm gonna have to get back used to it. Plus, some of the aluminum here is thin on this outside, so it's gonna take a little bit of work. But I need to get it a little cleaner than I have it now, so I'm gonna grab some acetone and get it cleaned. Well, I sort of got it welded. It is not the all-fire best. I mean, I just a lot of impurities in that aluminum, and so what I'm going to do is, I've got it built up quite a bit down here. I'm going to clean this thing up, clean it really good, and then JB weld just in case there's any pinholes. But I'm not going to do any more because I'm sort of limited in the tips that I have for my TIG. I just can't get right down into here very easily. Almost could probably use a wire feed welder, but it's going to be good enough. So I'm just going to grab some JB weld, smooth it in here, just in case there's any holes. One big thing I like to do after putting a JB weld on, I take some aluminum foil and I cut it, and I put it right down on top of the JB weld. I do that, it sort of smooths it out underneath and holds it all together as it's curing. And you can just leave it on if you want and peel it off later, but I like to do it that way because it holds all the JB weld. It won't like sag or anything while I'm working on it, because otherwise I'd have to just let this thing sit overnight and then come back and bolt it up. But I want to bolt it all up now. So all right, I got that, and now I'm gonna bolt all the covers back on. I got the back on. There it is. But I gotta do some cleaning up on it, and I want to make it make some other pieces for it. So I'm gonna end the video here. So it'll be a two-part. The next one will be like getting it all installed back on the machine, and then seeing if that engine actually runs. I may have done all this work and the engine is bad. However, I looked on the inside, looked good. I didn't see any issues. So I think we're doing good. So I want to thank everyone for watching the video, and please subscribe if you haven't. And if you like it, hit the like button, and also you can click on the notification so you're notified every time a new video comes up. So for me and my little engine, have a great day. See you on the next video.